Bubba Wallace just had a disastrous race after being crashed by the eventual winner Alex Bowman, but what Wallace did next was outright stupid, as after the race ended, Wallace decided to take revenge on Bowman by crashing into him on the cooling down lap. Will this have consequences for the number 23 driver? Bubba Wallace's start to Stage 2 was disastrous after gaining stage points in the first part of the Chicago street race. This NASCAR race is becoming wet and crazy, people. Bubba Wallace held his own in the top 10 of Stage 1. His teammate Tyler Reddick struck him in the rear as he exited the pits. It was caused by a congestion and pileup going off pit road when other drivers claimed their spots without pitting. Then, when racing began, things became worse. Alex Bowman, the driver of the 48 car, spun Bubba and sent him into the wall. He was not pleased after the incident. "Our S***T is killed," Wallace stated. Bubba Wallace has not had an easy season. Several times this season, the 23 car has been caught in other people's mistakes, costing them important points. Wallace is now approximately 50 points from the cut line, and if he wants to make the playoffs, he needs to win now. Wallace is not alone in going through a difficult time. When the weather is this severe, there are casualties all over the field. But Wallace wasn't going to let it go, and he took revenge on the cool-down lap. Tensions erupted during the cool-down lap following Alex Bowman's victory at the Grant Park 165 in Chicago on Sunday evening, with Bubba Wallace crashing Bowman's car into the wall as he expressed his fury. Bowman had just removed his window netting and lowered his helmet visor, wiping sweat off his brow as Wallace smacked the right side of his car. Bowman seemed agitated on an in-car camera that captured the crash. Bubba Wallace was spun out by Bowman earlier in the race during Stage 1, for which Bowman apologized after exiting his car. "I have to apologize again to the 23 guys," Bowman added. "Just messed up and trying to get my windshield wiper on and missed a corner and ruined their day. So I hate that. I'm still embarrassed by it, but we have a trophy to take home." Bubba Wallace's displeasure comes as he approaches the playoff cut line. Bowman was just within the cut at number 16, while Wallace was 51 points behind at number 17. Needless to say, Wallace's reckless collision fueled the rage that had built up during the race. Bubba Wallace has had a difficult season, unable to get things going despite some strong races here and there. He's had a lot of contact this season, which has prevented him from finishing higher. He's coming close to a must-win situation, and having a driver effectively wreck his day with a mistake will only add salt to injury. Bowman's first win of the season will assure he makes the playoffs. That will be a tremendous comfort for him, rather than having to deal with the cut line week after week as the second half of the season progresses. Wallace, however, needs to remain focused on winning at least once before the playoffs begin, but also has to watch his back for a decision from NASCAR on his revenge after the checkered flag. As according to Fox Sports' Bob Pockrass, NASCAR plans to evaluate an incident between Bubba Wallace and Alex Bowman on a cool-down lap during the Grant Park 165 in Chicago for a possible penalty. NASCAR, of course, will now investigate Wallace's dooring of Bowman to see whether it warrants any penalties. It is possible that a breach of the organization's code of conduct punishment occurred, albeit enforcement varies. Penalties are often issued on Tuesday evenings. Bubba Wallace's displeasure comes as he approaches the playoff cut line. Bowman was just within the cut at number 16, while Wallace was 51 points behind at number 17. Needless to say, Wallace's reckless collision fueled the rage that had built up during the race. On the other hand, after 80 races without a win, Alex Bowman finally wins again, and not just an oval race, but the Chicago street race. He won the race using wet tires, no less. However, after crossing the finish line, the NASCAR driver quickly issued an apology for what happened to Wallace, showing Bowman's professionalism. During his victory interview, Alex Bowman extended an olive branch to Bubba Wallace and the number 23 squad. Bowman turned Wallace around in Stage 2 and effectively ended their day, although competitively. Given the significance of this victory for Bowman and his team, it is appropriate for him to apologize first. However, Bubba got his vengeance on the cool-down lap. "Man, I don't know. Anytime you got to the racetrack with Hendrick Motorsports, you got a shot," Bowman said. "First off, like we talked earlier, I have to apologize again to the 23 guys. Just messed up, and trying to get my windshield wiper on, missed a corner and ruined their day. So, I hate that I'm embarrassed about it, but we have a trophy to take home and I know it means a lot to this team. They put me in position to win the race." Then, Alex Bowman discussed what the win meant to him. He has enormous party plans for evening. "Man, I broke my back. I had a brain injury, and we've kinda sucked ever since. I didn't. You start to second guess if you're going to get a chance to win a race again. Last one we won, we didn't really get to celebrate. We're going to drink so much damn bourbon tonight, it's going to be a bad deal. I'm probably going to wake up naked on the bathroom floor again, but that's just part of this deal sometimes. Thanks to Ali and everybody at Hendrick Motorsports. Everybody that makes this deal go round. Mr. H and Jeff Gordon. Shout out to Chloe at home, she's at home with the pups. This is like the only race she's missed all year, so I'm sure she's pissed off at me for that one. But she's sitting at home with Huck. Yeah, excited to get home, it's going to be a good night. Alex Bowman won this race with a brave tactic. Wet weather tires ultimately proved to be reliable. Tyler Reddick made a compelling attack on sticky tires. Ultimately, Reddick was unable to catch Bowman. An error on the final lap sealed the fates of the 45 and 48 cars. It stinks for Bubba Wallace and his teammates. They had a top 10 car to begin the race. It arguably stings more because Bowman was Wallace's closest competitor in the playoffs in terms of points. The 23 car is now in must-win situation in order to qualify for the postseason. And to make matters worse, he has that penalty hanging above his head, but Bowman is proposing that NASCAR should not penalize Wallace for dooring him. According to Jeff Gluck of The Athletic, Bowman was strong on this issue late Sunday evening, not wanting Wallace to face discipline for his post-race activities. "He barely hit me, everything was fine and it was plenty deserved," said Bowman. The winning driver also stated that he had already taken efforts to attempt to make things right with Bubba Wallace after spinning him out during stage 1. That is probably definitely what Wallace was upset about after the race. "I'd be mad too. I ruined his day," Bowman said. "I just messed up. I've been embarrassed about it since it happened. I tried to call him during the rain delay and I shot him a text." Bowman will have to wait and see whether NASCAR takes his lobbying seriously. Bubba Wallace will also be waiting, perhaps on pins and needles. NASCAR has the authority to deduct driver points from drivers for improper conduct. In fact, it happened just last week when Carson Hocevar lost 25 driving points and got a $50,000 fine for breaking the member code of conduct. That event was unique in that Hocevar purposefully bumped Harrison Burton while on caution rather than after the race. Still, it's worth consideration when deciding whether NASCAR should penalize Bubba Wallace or listen to Bowman's appeal. NASCAR normally issues post-race penalties on Tuesday evenings, and the organization has already acknowledged that it will investigate the Wallace-Bowman incident for potential penalties. What's your take on it? Should Bubba Wallace receive a penalty for what he did? Or was it justified revenge that, according to the victim, Bowman, shouldn't warrant a penalty? If Wallace gets a penalty and had points docked of him, he will for sure only qualify for the playoffs with a win, and with only 6 races left, it will be tricky. Could win it at Pocono, Indianapolis, Richmond, Michigan, Daytona, or Darlington to grab a spot in the last 16. Or will Wallace have to sit out this year? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.